My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. It's International Week.
No, I think you'll find it's pronounced International Week.
Well, if there's anybody I trust with International Week,
it's me.
It's the mistress of accents.
It is. As you'll see, I'm now an accent aficionado. I like to see that Dan is picking up on this. Well done, Dan. I haven't actually received payment or engaged with you in terms of accent lessons, but I'm glad to see they're paying off on the show.
What I was thrilled with, by the way, was that we talked last week about that lovely young lady who's starring as the girl from Melbourne in that play.
Yes.
Thankfully, she didn't reach out to Kristie.
Why?
So her accent might be good.
And it could be superb if she'd have reached out to me.
Kristie's accents. Kristie's accents.
Look, they're on point.
They're on some form of point, I'll give you that. What was on point was the Fellaini tribute at the start of the episode.
Oh my God, that had me just hacking myself.
I would pay to watch Dan and Julia's star
Yes.
in like a Fellaini.
I was just waiting for Dan to wander out dressed as like Death, ready to set up a chessboard.
What I actually wanted was a spaghetti western.
Did you? You would have preferred a spaghetti western.
A spaghetti western would have been cool. That would have been fun because they could have like shot each other with like biscuits and then like done the and fallen over.
We should just be glad it's not a French film because they would have been like half naked and rolling around with each other. And then like afterwards having a smoke and just complaining about it. Like, oh, look at me, I'm a philanderer. Oh.
The other thing that I really enjoyed is that would it be a week of the Great Canadian Bake Off if they didn't have an opening video featuring Meng Ling in trouble?
Like every single week she's like in this perpetual state of frazzlement. Like
Gadget had a big week this week.
Indeed he did, because it just let's get to it because I'm still processing that.
All right, so let's get into it, shall we?
Yes.
So the signature in International Week was
signature.
Okay.
Well, signature, as they say in America. It's
Sure.
my signature dish.
Let's do that, shall we?
Indeed.
Oh God, now I'm
Let's
doing
do
bad
it.
accents. No, I fell
See,
for
you're
it.
welcome. You're welcome. I'm helping
No, I'm
you.
not welcome. All right, hand pies. Nobody in
sounds like a game you play when you're like in year 9 or 10.
No, draw a veil, move on. What it sounded like to
I
me.
think President Trump's calls it grab it by the pussy.
He
but,
does.
You know.
We'll go with that. So, yeah, what I would go with instead was I got a little bit more of the sort of Mrs. Lovett's try a little priest style pie. And the idea was, how exactly do you blend up a hand pie? Is there a different flavour between the left and the right? These are things that we need to know. Is one more gamey than the other? I would assume in a majority of cases the right hand is more gamey because it's more used.
Well, if it's a right-hand person, then yes. If they're a left-hander, you're going to end up with like, you know, the same kind of consistency as a right-hand person. But if that person, for example, comes from one of those countries that actually uses one particular hand to wipe with, completely different flavour.
The flavours are going to be changed. Very different flavours there.
Is this a hint of...
Apparently... People do call these things hand pies. Now, I've had this argument on Twitter already with people who explained to us what a hand pie was, and yeah, I get the concept, all right?
Yeah.
But I don't know anyone who calls them hand pies.
But Canadian Bake Off did, so let's just respect that and move on to what they actually cooked, because some of that shit, I'm just
You just want to get on to Meng Ling.
fucking hungry now.
You just want to get on to Meng Ling. So the whole point of this is you just want to get on to Meng Ling. So now... They talked about the idea it had to be 24 identical hand pies with a sauce. If it was Australian, it probably would have been 24 party pies, which are the small meat pies, and the sauce probably would have been tomato.
Yeah, if it was English, maybe a pork pie.
Possibly.
Small 24 pork pies or pasties.
Probably a pasty. I was surprised there weren't pasties.
Yeah. I dated a Cornish guy once.
You dated a Cornish guy? Was it for the pasties?
No, he told me their history. Very, like, yay miners and the big crust, so they could throw it away. But he had this interesting thing. In Cornwall, apparently they pick turnips and have sex. And he told me at that time it wasn't turnip picking season.
Oh,
so
lovely.
There we go.
Lovely.
There's
What a
line.
pickup line. You know, I would trust any gentleman that uses turnips as part of his pickup line.
No, this guy was an asshole.
So anyway,
Moving on.
as they referred to and they got Julia to go along with Dan and his overboard puns. Without a sauce, what would a hand pie be? A disappointment.
Oh, no.
Brr. Yar, someone should be keelhauled for that one. So, look, the phrase hand pie, I never want to hear it again, in all honesty. I don't need to hear it.
Well, let's just call them pies, okay?
Let's call them pies. I'm happy to call them pies.
If you like.
Or in Megan's case, a hamburger. So...
Maybe it's a handburger.
Oh, no, I checked my notes. No, definitely hamburger.
Okay.
Except it wasn't really a hamburger. There was bacon in it, but there were 3 types of meat, and this is where we get very Canadian. So we had beef.
Yep.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a hamburger. It's good. Bacon. Okay, we're getting Canadian now. Moose.
Poutine. Oh, moose.
Moose.
Yes.
Moose. So I'm assuming that Jude had some left over from last season in the freezer.
Yeah.
And Megan's gone to the freezer and gone, oh, what luck.
Yes.
And a lard...
It's moosed excellent.
Ooh. A lard crust, which did lead Devon to go, what even is lard? I don't know. When I asked him, were you making a lard crust? He's like, no, really not. Devon was... He was a brat this week.
Devon was essentially my older sister at trivia who thought she fucking knew everything, right? Because she's the numbers woman in the family.
Didn't go well.
And the question was, how many Tim Tams are there in the packet? They're those delicious biscuits we rave about. It's always an odd number. You know that because you can never share it evenly. And Michelle's there going, oh, and she'd bought a packet of Tim Tam biscuits and she counted them and she's gone, there's 12. And I'm like, no, there's not. Recount. She goes, no, 12, write it down. I'm a numbers person, blah, 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 blah. There's fucking 11 in a packet, Michelle, because you can never divide them evenly. And she was just so proud of herself.
Not that she's bitter.
And got shut down. It doesn't matter. We ended up with a wooden spoon because...
And then, later on,
yeah,
once you met me, how many times did we go to trivia?
3 times.
How many times did we win trivia?
3 times.
Thank you. You made me a T-shirt.
I did, and I learned the DJ Khaled song.
You did. All I do is win.
Yeah.
Now bring on the schnitzel. Schnitzel's my prizes. Okay.
I made that.
So you did. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So Mengling.
Yes.
So she made pork janbing. So...
Looked delicious. I like the concept, but I agree with Bruno. Just worried about, because they're pan-fried on either side, just that little band.
Yeah, like it looked like it was both under and over because the top and the bottom looked slightly, let's use the word caramelised.
Yeah, but you expect that from a pan-fried dumpling of sorts.
So we used the word caramelised, not burnt, because they weren't burnt, they were caramelised. But yeah, the band around the outside looked raw.
I'm surprised she didn't do the... Oh, what's the one? It's like a pastry that's got like an egg wash on it, and usually it has like a barbecue pork filling. Like, oh, so good.
Why didn't she just make barbecue pork buns?
Oh my God, yes.
There you go.
Oh, now I'm going to fucking craving.
Now I've distracted you. Sardia. So Sardia made fatia with self-yeasted dough.
Oh my God, that looked good.
They look really good.
I loved how she pulled on Bahrain and Pakistani.
Yeah, she called on a whole pile of cultures. It was wonderful. For International Week, Sardia genuinely went international.
I know, she needed a fucking visa for each station.
That might have been part of the problem with the whole thing for Sardia today was that she needed so many visas that it actually slowed down the process.
I did not see that coming.
No, I didn't. We'll talk about it a bit later.
Oh.
So, Andre.
I miss
Sardia. Andre.
Okay, talk about Andre.
So,
I'm going to have a moment.
So, Andre made a kulabakia, which I'm going to get wrong. Feel free to slander me on Twitter about
Russian.
that. It was Russian. Salmon and beef vermicelli.
Yes.
Now, he puts it raw inside the pastry and cooks it inside the pastry. And
which makes sense because that's, you know, when you do like a salt crust set like fish and stuff.
What was interesting, though, is you've got the beef vermicelli and the salmon, so you'd think there might be 2 different cooking textures. But it wasn't.
No.
It was sensational. Like,
and you think
Andre, we're going to talk about this later, but just to spoiler alert, you're a fucking wizard.
You are. You're a wizard, Andre.
You're a wizard, Andre.
Yes.
Michelle thought it was ultra fancy, but Andre's like, oh, that's just the scaled down version.
Yes.
He's
like, oh, my mother makes this, and she makes them so well that no one else bothers to make them.
So I've downscaled them, and I hope I can do what she wants me to do.
He's amazeballs.
Oh, Devon. Now, Devon in this one made me proud. Bibimbap.
Yes.
With bulgogi beef. Bulgogi beef, which is I love bulgogi beef.
Your like culinary self just
I was salivating.
Like.
I was salivating. I'm not going to explain that term to the Canadian audience. Don't you do it either. What was more important though?
He was excited.
This is the first station of the Dan, as I'm referring to him this week. Dan turned up just to sample the beef.
How's the beef?
Where's the beef? Inside Dan's face. That's where the beef is. Sachin. So Sachin made samosas.
Which would have been perfect without the fucking peas, Sachin.
Right, Sachin. You got a lot to learn. Peas are not required in any form of food. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You do not need to put peas in things.
Do you know how excited I was when I found a samosa that was peeless once?
Oh no, it was joy. It was
because we both hate some
peas,
but we love Indian food, and so when you go to get a samosa, it's like a minefield. You have to eat around the peas because you can't say I'd like samosas without peas because they're pre-done.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike a fried rice, which first of all, no real fried rice has ever seen a pea. But secondly, and far more importantly, we just get it taken out. So that's what we do. We just get fried rice without peas. You can't do that with a samosa. Dan then found his way to Megan's bench. Where he just started eating directly from the bowl.
And she's like, I made that whole bowl is extra, which is keep code for. Megan went, how much quantity do I need? Okay, enough to fill it and to feed Dan.
And then Timothy. So Timothy decided that he was going to call upon his heritage and go with the spring roll.
Yes.
But the spring roll inside like a pie casing.
Spring triangle.
Spring triangles.
Yes.
The spring triangle sounds a little bit like a holiday destination. Where have you gone?
I've gone to the Spring Triangle, a beautiful resort in Palm Springs.
It's a beautiful little resort. It's wonderful. It's lovely. It's adventurous. Now,
it's holistic.
And Julia was sort of reminiscing.
chakras.
Julia was reminiscing about sort of her
through the insertion of kale through the rectum.
Julia's reminiscing about her. About her childhood and the spring rolls as well, and the idea of that's a flavour for me. And as Timothy said, I've done these before, and everyone's like, just stuff them with more. So more.
So he did.
So what they had to do was then there was two approaches that people took. Some of them took the approach of bake in batches, so 12 and 12. Some, not naming anybody by name, Devon. Decided that he was going to do all of them in one hit.
Fuck it, let's do this.
So
didn't hurt him at this point.
Now, if you wanted an idea of where people thought the flavour was, now we need to talk a bit more about Megan. So Megan decided to make that special sauce with the pickles that her mother taught her how to do.
Yes.
Which looked incredible.
Was it her grandmother? Oh, no.
I can't remember. It was one of them.
It was her mother's.
Megan will
right.
correct me if I'm wrong. Dan went back to Megan's bench again, this time to eat the sauce.
Which looked delicious. It looked, dare I say it, like a Mig back sauce.
Yes, it was a Mig back.
Yes, that you might get from Condonald's.
Yes, Condonald's is Mig back.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful burger. Whenever you hear like special sauce and things like that, it's, now, what I liked about Devon's sauce, by the way, was that Devon was trying to make a little bit of sauce look like a lot of sauce. It was the way he was plating it. I like it.
Yeah.
I like the strategy, Devon. Keep that up.
Just get a smaller sauce bowl next time.
Now, we know that Dan was ranging all the way around the pavilion during this challenge.
Yeah,
but then he turned up at Sachin's bench. Now, Sachin
apparently made 24 samosas.
But he couldn't find the 24th one. And Dan helped rectify this counting error by telling him there were only 23. Now,
how did Sachin, who looks like a very sensible person...
How did he miscount? It seems weird, doesn't it?
It couldn't be that someone came along and just, I don't know, ate one.
If only there was somebody in the pavilion with a history of eating food off people's benches, or maybe eating all of the contents of a bowl, for example, very recently.
They just wanted to polish it off with a samosa.
And then wanted to help them out by counting and going, oh no, you're one short.
Yeah, he's like, conscience, cleared.
What I
told them they're missing one.
What I found bold, by the way, about what Sachin did in there was that they wanted identical.
Yes.
But Sachin didn't bother to, use a cutter to cut out the wrappers.
Yeah.
He just freehanded it and went, they're going to be a little bit different. They'll be identical but different.
They look delicious.
They looked amazing, except for the peas. We've talked about this. Meanwhile, dum 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 dum. Inspector Gadget. This week on Mengling as Inspector Gadget, Julia went over and sort of said to her, so, how are things going, Mengling? And what I loved is that there was not a word spoken, but you understood it purely from the and then they just trailed off and went to the next baker.
And obviously she said, go, Gadget copter at that point as she was falling off the cliff.
No, you know what it was? She was waiting in the earpiece for Brain over at the other... But Brain was far too busy with Dan eating her special sauce. Penny was too busy there, and Brain was far too busy. He was off making his...
beautiful
salmon. Yeah. So Brain was busy. Penny was over with Dan stealing her special sauce.
Yeah.
So Gadget was left on her own.
Poor Gadget. It's like, you know, the...
Go Gadget roller skates.
Yeah. The message that was going to self-destruct went a bit early.
So...
Quimby.
So we got to then the judging. So with Megan's, they absolutely loved the concept, but they said that the bake was slightly inconsistent. Rochelle suggested maybe a brioche.
Oh.
Which would make it a burger, basically.
Exactly.
So what Rochelle actually
make
wanted...
it like a hot pocket.
So what...
It would be a pizza pocket, but a hamburger pocket.
It would be a hot pocket, you're right.
Yeah.
But what...
Do they count as a...
Let's go with it. Well, what I'm actually thinking was that basically what Rochelle wanted Megan to make was a hamburger-shaped hamburger. So not a... pie, but just make this as a hamburger next time.
Which is essentially a bun. You know what I mean?
That's what she wants. Well, she wants a brioche. She wants a bun.
Exactly. Because, like, if you make a dough that is essentially a bread dough and you stuff it with things like
hamburger.
Like a pizza pocket, it's a bun.
It's a burger, technically. This is what she wanted was a burger. Oh. What she wanted in the pie challenge was a burger.
Look, she's an Aussie. She was just craving a good old
She wanted a burger at this point.
Now, poor Rochelle, she probably couldn't get a decent burger in in Canada because, like, you don't make them like we do. You don't put, like, beetroot on them.
I don't put beetroot on them.
Yeah, but you're not really Australian. Beetroot, tomato sauce, fried onion.
Zing.
You know.
I put the fried onion on there.
I know. I wasn't talking about you.
I put egg on there.
Egg and bacon.
Egg and bacon.
I'm not an egg and bacon fan.
You're not really Australian. So Sachin. So Sachin, they said there was a great ratio of filling to dough. Then Rochelle tried the sauce, and he goes, oh, it's a little bit of a kick to it. And Rochelle, at that point, I was worried for her health.
Yeah.
She turned a shade of red.
Quite worrying.
They did, however, say the flavour was amazing.
Yes.
Once Rochelle could speak, once the receptors on her tongue were no longer burnt. Mengling. Bruno asked her, was it cooked properly? And Mengling's response was, we'll find out! I love Mengling's spirit and attitude.
Yes.
It is just so whatever.
Yeah, like, well, you know, it might not be the best job, but bloody hell, I'm here and I'm doing it. This is it.
Mengling said...
me on a plate.
Mengling said later on that she decided this week she was just going to have fun, and boy, couldn't you tell.
Yeah.
They said...
And her flavours were good.
They said the flavour was great, but it was underbaked, which again seems to be a bit of a Mengling trait.
Yeah.
Devon, they said the filling was great, and I 100% agree. Like, those flavours, that's my flavours. I like those.
Yeah.
They said his pastry was chewy. Not really what you're after there, Devon.
No.
Don't worry. He'll fix it in the next challenge because he knows that challenge. Tim, they said, for Timothy, they said the dough was flaky. And they said that a lot of moisture had escaped and he needed more depth of flavour inside. Well, if you think about it, he's making a spring roll, but not as a spring roll.
Yeah.
And the mince looked, the inside looked very, I don't want to say bland, but it
was a spring roll filling, which is not necessarily
punchy.
Punchy.
No, but that flaky.
Because you rely on the crunch of the roll on the outside.
And so you didn't really have that with the pie.
And you know
so
what's
that was
awesome?
probably a problem.
Is that they call them spring rolls in Canada as well, not bloody egg rolls.
Good.
Thank you,
This is what happens when you're dealing with a correct country.
Yes. Part of the fair Commonwealth.
Yes, so Sardia.
Go forth and colonise.
So Sardia.
Squash those indigenous people.
So Sardia. So Sardia. Light dough. They said it was baked perfectly. The texture was amazing and the chutney was perfect and the meat was really well seasoned.
Looked delicious. A little dry on the inside, but never mind.
Okay, and Andre, look, I wrote a whole pile of notes on this and then just summed it up with basically an Andre bake, which is, it looked amazing.
Yes.
Bake was perfect and the ratio of filling to dough was spot on. It's an Andre bake. Like, we've talked about this before. We've sort of intimated it. I would, at this point in time, and I know we're not even halfway through the competition yet.
He's a contender.
I'd go further than that. I would suggest that technique-wise, Andre is in the top 5 bakers I've ever seen in a bake-off show.
You reckon?
He's sensational.
He really is.
It's amazing what he can do.
It's true, and his execution and his flavour profiles are always really high.
Now, it doesn't mean necessarily...
Like his technicals...
It doesn't mean necessarily he's going to win.
off.
He does have moments, and everyone does. And with a bake-off, you can walk in and just hit a challenge you don't know and fall over. You can have a bad day where things don't work for you. So it doesn't mean he's going to win. But, my God, his technique is incredible.
Strong.
Oh,
He's strong. There's a couple of people that I'm kind of like... Well, there's one now that's fucking gone.
He gives you a little bit of a...
Why?
We'll come back to that. He gives you a little bit of like Linda from last season and her vibe of just... Linda just knew every bake.
Yes.
And like,
absolutely.
I bake this all the time. I loved Devon at the end of this where he's like, let's just try to have fun and try not to panic. And then he went, I'll probably panic a little. Now, you know, however, who wasn't panicking?
Who?
Those people in Calgary who might have missed the show, because you're not the only person here, Stanford,
No?
who comes up with Canadian news.
I'm really liking that you're getting involved in this. Okay, what did you
Isn't
find?
it wonderful? What I found was there would have been a lot of people last night in the fair city of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, that would have missed...
Megan might have been there.
That would have missed Bake Off. And you know why they would have missed Bake Off?
Why?
They were watching the Roy Orbison hologram.
Whoa! We're living the future, people!
Roy Orbison's son, according to the Calgary Herald, when Roy Orbison's son first saw it, he cried.
Oh, probably because he's like...
What have you done to my father?
He's dead.
So
Let him rest, but I need the money.
So there was a lovely concert last night.
Did the Travelling Wilburys show up for it?
No, the rest will. I mean, some of them are pickled and a couple of them are dead. But last night there would have been a lot of people down at Calgary's Southern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium.
Pretty woman walking down the street.
I like that if it glitches and you get stuck in the matrix if it glitches.
Pretty woman.
Suddenly the audience gets sucked into the hologram and there's no one left and everyone's like...
ghost comes to it. It's like, get me out of here.
Yes, when Roy Orbison starts interacting with the audience, panic. Like when hologram Roy starts walking out and talking to people in the front row, run away.
He'd make a very musical ghost though, because he'd be like, hello.
Yeah, because he used to have that.
Yeah.
He had that tremble in his voice.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the technical.
Yes.
12 Daifuku mochi.
How pretty were they? Oh my God, they're so pretty. I want one.
Now, what I loved about this challenge was everybody inside the pavilion looked absolutely baffled, except for one person, the individual from Regina. Experience Regina. We haven't got to sing that all series, so Devon knew what this challenge was.
He had me excited at this point. I was going, he's going to fucking nail this.
At one point, we looked at it and went, God, Devon's smug. And then we went, you know what? No,
go for it. Go for it. You know it.
It's
Own it.
rare that you know what one of these things are and no one else does. And
but he just flew too close to the sun and his smugness went to hubris.
To quote
Yes.
the immortal words of Craig Ferguson to Jeff Peterson.
Yeah.
Careful, Icarus. Careful, Icarus.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, Devon flew way too close to the sun, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So,
a little carried away with the arrogance.
So what the Daifuku mochi is, it's a strawberry in red bean paste and then the mochi dough around the outside.
Oh.
So, and it had to be a light pink.
Yep.
Not as Andre might have done, deep red.
But I like Megan's colour because it's like, that's fucking light pink for a goth. That is like...
It was.
That is pastel as it gets.
It's about as pastel as you get.
But what I love is that they're used to celebrate the coming of spring, and I'm like, oh my God, I want one now.
Now, Timothy at least said that he understood the red bean paste.
Because we have heaps of strawberries. Do you know why we have heaps of strawberries? You know, but I'll tell the audience.
Go.
So yesterday, my poor sister had been invited to this like kids group outing because it's school holidays for my lovely 6-year-old niece. And she's gone along and all it says was $10 entry and you can go pick strawberries and then you can purchase extra if you want to. What she thought it meant is that you go and you harvest them on behalf of the people that you're going to and you give it to them and then you might buy a few things to bring home. No, apparently buy what you pick. So $80 worth of strawberries later, which turned out to be 15 large punnets of strawberries. I get a phone call. I'm just going to drop by your work with some strawberry. I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah, we kind of went overboard. So, yeah, got beautiful fresh strawberries now. And my work colleague also got some.
There's plenty of them, yeah.
Apparently everyone from between here and Rockdale are going to have strawberries.
So maybe later on this evening we can make Daifuku. No, I'm not doing that. No,
I'm just
dipping them in chocolate. Yeah.
We need to soak them in an alcohol.
So mingling with a very mingling phrase. I don't know if I'm doing this right. We love you, mingling. Never change. Never change. So you had mingling going, I don't know if I'm doing this right, and Devon going, I know exactly what I'm doing, and ignoring the recipe. Now remember, this is a recipe in the Great Canadian Bake Off. There's no instructions, but Devon even ignored the limited instructions he was given.
Do you reckon he even Scrooged it? Like he's like, nah, I'm not telling anyone anything.
Probably,
like,
but
he just went.
It worked out better for everyone else. I'm not going to lie. So at one point, they talked about the idea of you had to make a foil snake coil. I may have killed Kristie with that. Make a foil snake coil in the instructions. That was the instruction. And I love mingling. I don't know what this is, but I think it's a snaky thing.
Nice. You know, you should be Australian with that kind of observation. Well, that's how we name everything in Australia. You know, we have these mountains that because of the eucalyptus trees on it look blue in like from a distance. Call them Blue Mountains. Yeah. We have...
this range of mountains that divides, you know, the coastline from the centre of Australia. Great dividing range.
We have an opera house in Sydney, so we call it the Sydney Opera House.
We also have a reef that's a barrier to the coast.
Yep.
Great Barrier Reef. We're good at this.
Very good. And it goes on.
We're wonderful at naming things.
Or we name it twice, like Wagga Wagga. Or
Woi Woi.
Tilba Tilba.
Yeah, Woi Woi is a big one.
Yeah.
All right, so back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Mingling. Now, I mentioned this last week because they showed it as the clip at the end of the episode. As I said, we must end and begin all episodes with mingling, having a bit of a drama. And in this case, it was her going, uh-oh, this is not good. And then they cut down to the bench, and she's just stuck to the mochi dough. Like, it's like stuck to her.
And Sadia was having a bit of struggle with it too, by the looks of it.
Yeah,
like,
everyone was struggling with their mochi dough. And then they were making the red bean paste, and it said, you know, make the red bean paste to the right consistency. And Devon's gone, I know red bean paste.
Didn't even say. I think it even said smooth, didn't it?
No, they talked about that on the voiceover.
I wasn't listening.
So Devon decided that because he'd lived in Japan for a while, he knows the texture of red bean paste. And look. To be fair, it can be a little bit lumpier than that smooth paste.
Yeah.
They obviously wanted the smooth. Devon didn't read anything, and at this point we realised he was possibly in a bit of trouble.
At one point I thought he was going to declare himself Emperor of Japan.
He was very close to it.
He was like, just... Like, I lived in Japan.
He was about to burst out into Gilbert and Sullivan's Mikado any minute. If you want to know who we are gentlemen of Japan. Would have been perfect. Oh, actually, he would have been perfect as Coco, the Lord High Executioner. But in the Eric Idle version with the British Royal Opera Company of him like dancing in with a tennis racket, I could see it.
And then it just escalated from there. It's like he got caught up in this snowball of confidence.
This power trip just took over.
It's like maniacal Devon. He went into like this. He's an evil genius. I'm presuming that Devon has a lair. and is planning
Red
to take
bean
over the
paste
world.
lair.
Yeah, exactly.
So I loved Julia then walked over and like Megan's smoothed it all out, none of that. Julia goes, it sounds like you know what you're doing, and Megan's like, I don't. And Julia's like, you wouldn't know. and Andre even looked at his and went, well, these are a mess. Which is about as panicky as you ever see Andre.
Yeah, he's kind of cool, calm and collected most of the time and just takes it in his stride. Like, you know, he obviously acknowledged, I haven't done this before.
It reminded me of Linda with the challenge last series where she just looked at them and went, oh, well, they are what they are.
Yeah.
Well, she just didn't really know. So with Megan, they said the colour was a little bit deep, but everything was contrasted really well and the flavour was great. Timothy, they said the colour was good. It was an even distribution, but the red bean paste was a little bit gritty.
Yeah.
Mengling. Now, they used one of their favourite sentences. It was a challenge on the dough.
The strawberries looked like they were trying to escape.
They did. They did. The paste was gritty and chunky, and they were inconsistent. But beyond that, they were perfect.
Look,
beyond
I would have
the
tried
dough,
one Mengling.
Look, beyond the dough and the red bean paste and the inconsistency in the size, the strawberries were magnificent.
I'm now
So,
seeing
well done.
A behind the scenes of Canadian Bake Off called Beyond the Dough.
Beyond the dough. Sachin, like, the second they cut those open, you could hardly see the strawberry for the red bean paste.
However, they did look even. Like, even though we got
It was
a thick
even.
paste around it, it looked even.
It was even, but it looked more like you'd cut a tree in half and you had the rings. And, like, the red bean paste just looked like another ring of the strawberry.
It was just a very long, hot year.
Yeah, the strawberry was the old growth and the red bean paste was the new growth. Devon, who was sitting there looking really smug, right up until they said the dough was too thin, there was too much paste, and the paste was chunky and grainy. And you just saw the look on his face like, oh, shit.
It's like his whole demeanour, like, what's it called? Evil genius character just got like deflated. And he's like, oh, that's right, I'm just Devon.
Yes. Sadia, the dough was really good, they said, but the paste was a bit grainy and dry. And Andre was very red. The paste was gritty, and they said
he's Russian, right?
And in a phrase,
he must be red.
in a phrase you never hear, the texture was distracting. What was it distracting them from?
Look over here. Look over here. Look, it's fine. It's fine. Look at my hand. Look at my hand. Not the eyes, the hands.
So Mengling came 7th. Devon came 6th after all of that. Andre was 5th. Sadia was 4th. Sachin was 3rd. Timothy was 2nd. And Megan was 1st.
Yes.
And as you can see here in the background, our dog Leo agrees 100%.
Big Megan fan.
He's a massive Megan fan. All he ever does is barks about Megan.
Yeah.
So let's get into the showstopper, right? So the showstopper was the Italian cookie sculpture.
Italiano cookie sculpture.
That was perfect.
It was.
That was wonderful.
It was perfect Swedish, wasn't it?
I've never heard a Latvian accent like it. So I loved where they just cut to Bruno, who went, my first name is Bruno, and I know about Italian cookies. I was waiting for him then to make some form of reference to, like, you know, waking up with a horse's head in your bed. But anyway, we move on.
I know about Italian cookies, right?
They don't exist. The mafia doesn't exist. They don't exist. We love you if you do, but you don't. Anyway, moving on. So Devon decided to make 3 types of cookies.
Yeah, why not?
He did a southwestern scene.
Yeah.
He made amaretti. Amaretti appeared a few times. Sugar cookies appeared consistently.
Well, wouldn't you throw in a sugar cookie if you have to make a few different types of biscuits?
Yes, and Savoy was his other one. And as Rochelle said, Rochelle was really worried about Devon's dough. Because the dough was wet.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why Devon said he made the dough wet?
So he could pipe it easy.
Piping. So that made perfect sense. Andre, not content with 3, made 4. And made them in the shape of a leaping fish.
They looked amazing. Like, as he was doing the scales, I'm like, oh my God, Andre. Dan's come to disturb him. I'm like, Dan, just stand and watch the genius.
When Dan went to disturb him, he was making individual scales.
Yes. I'm like...
Now, what also impressed us about Andre's was he made a body for the fish before he made 3 other types of cookies.
Yeah.
So he made a ricotta cookie body. Then there was orange choc amaretti, there was vanilla, and then there were sugar cookies for the water.
And that's he reveled afterwards. He's like, it's supposed to be tender like the inside of a fish's body.
It was
like
incredible.
Oh, Andre.
Look at the way that he put that together, and the
He's
class,
an artiste, that Andre.
the class and the distinguished way. I'm making a beehive. Bee!
No, not the bees.
Mingling.
She
Holy
caught
crap.
Jude's whimsy. It's like Jude's whimsy just came in to play with Mengling. Oh my God, the little faces on the bees.
She made
The little
each
wings
bee
and
had an
floating.
individual personality.
It was like Sleepy Bee
Yeah, it had
and
biscotti.
Happy Bee, Grumpy Bee.
You had biscotti, you had Florentines, and you had orange blossom. And in her words, this dough is really strong because chemistry. And then just shrugged at the camera like, I think that's right. I loved Timothy's logic behind why he made a bus. Because Dan said, why did you make a bus, Timothy? And his response was, because I take one every day.
I love just that you're taking inspiration from your urban surroundings, Timothy. I mean, you could live in the fucking country, I wouldn't know. But you're just like, yeah, catch a bus. This biscuit's
I was disappointed that
means something.
I was disappointed that we didn't get orchestra instruments, knowing that he the band.
No.
I would have wanted instruments.
I would have liked a few nods to
Eurovision.
Springfield or Eurovision.
I would have liked not to see Eurovision
Go
personally.
banana.
We've worked out that Timothy is really a Eurovision fan. His Phoenix references. So maybe he could have made a sculpture of. He could have made a sculpture of. The Harrys.
The Harrys, yes. The Harrys. Who else? No, I've got another.
Celine Dion, there you go.
Celine Dion.
Because that works because she's
yes.
Canadian. And she also won Eurovision because Canada, of course, is in Europe. We can make fun of that because Australia's actually in Eurovision for no apparent reason.
Because we sent enough people through. Johnny Logan.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sadia.
Gina G.
Olivia Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John,
There you go. So, Sadia. So, Sadia made Ludo. And, again, her rationale behind that was solid because she's like, we homeschool, we use a lot of games to teach lessons and teach these sorts of concepts and teach the different... Rainbow cookie board with sugar cookie pieces. The colours looked incredible.
Yes.
The problem was...
Bake's not good.
Well, no, the bake was okay.
No, they said it wasn't quite cooked through.
But the bigger problem with that, she would have got away with it had it been a sugar cookie sculpture. Or a cookie sculpture.
Yeah.
It kind of wasn't. Everyone else sort of got their head around it. Sadia admitted, I didn't get my head around the idea of making a sculpture.
3D biscuit, yeah.
And so she made a board. I mean, Sachin, we'll come to Sachin in a minute. I didn't like what he did because I thought it was very basic.
I liked his concept.
The concept was good.
Like, Italy, I'm going to make the Sphinx. Why? Because Rome invaded Egypt and then married Caesar to Cleopatra.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. Okay.
You should like it. You're a history buff.
Now onto the other side of the shed. The pavilion, sorry. You know what we had?
What do we have?
Aurora Borealis.
At this time of year,
This time of day, located entirely in that pavilion. Yes.
Yeah, see it.
Can we see it? Yes, we can see it.
Oh.
The Northern Lights.
Oh, my God.
Megan made the Northern Lights. It wasn't steamed hams.
We're coming to visit Megan.
It wasn't steamed hams at all.
She made steamed hams earlier in the day.
She did.
Oh, my God.
Inception. Oh. So, maple walnut biscotti, chocolate ricotta mountain with sugar cookies, and oh dear God, what a scene!
Oh,
it was incredible.
Ice fire.
You know what I would have liked her to do though?
What?
She made a Northern Lights scene, and I understand it looked amazing. There was the fire, there was all the vibrant colours. I wanted her to make the other form of Northern Lights sculpture. I wanted her to recreate the video clip for Tears Are Not Enough, complete with creepy-looking Neil Young. Just all I want is a Neil Young looking like he owns a white van, just standing at the front singing
Bags
Tears
of
Are Not
lollies.
Enough, with a short Bryan Adams, because he is short, there at the front, leading the charge while Canada raises funds.
Hot as fuck, so just leave the man
I'm
alone.
not picking on him.
Good.
I'm not exactly a giant.
I know.
Short people look cool. Thank you. Anyway, so at this point, randomly, they cut back to Devon, who just uttered the phrase, "It needs to be more green." No context.
Presume he's talking about his merkin.
Let's go with that, shall we?
Yep.
So Sachin made a Sphinx, as we said, biscotti and sugar cookies. The concept was amazing, but all he ended up doing was layering flat cookies on top of each other.
Yeah.
And it kind of... Look, there was a challenge in season 3 of the Great Australian Bake Off where they had to make the different international scenes, and they did, remember a couple of them made the Sphinx and made the pyramids out of...
that was right. And no, it was Liv, and she made the
made it.
camel.
The camel was bigger than the Sphinx. But It was like a diorama, and it was made in such a way.
And Liesl made the Taj Mahal
with tea in the middle of it.
Yes,
incredible. Look it up.
tea.
Look it up. But that's how you do one of these scenes. Or James, who made the bell tower. Anyway. Don't worry, people overseas, you won't understand that because people in Australia barely understood that.
We didn't know the Perth Bell Tower was a thing.
Apparently it was a thing. So, hi, James.
But you can follow them on...
We love you, James.
We can follow the Perth Bell Tower, the Bell Tower Times on Twitter, which is hilarious.
So, Megan made fire, as we saw.
With isomalt. And the only other person I know who's made isomalt and made it look fucking easy is Valerie, our Canadian friend.
So there you go.
Also a big bake-off friend who just whips out things like isomalt like it's no issue.
And it was nice of Timothy to deal with the social media team for Great Canadian Bake Off. Like, he put a hashtag GCBS on top of it. On the side of it, he wrote "Coming Fall 2018." On the back, it was
real for the youth.
Your space to rent, for the cost of $400 for whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting to wonder maybe Timothy's a sleeper agent for maybe the sponsorship wing. Maybe he's CBC's sponsorship man and he's on there trying to raise funds for Canadian Bake Off. What was really unusual about this episode, I think the most unusual thing, Meng Ling was in a position at the conclusion of a challenge to help someone.
Yes.
And I mean actually. Not like last week where she was waving a spatula around.
No, she actually went across. She was eating something and she looked at Sadia and's gone, oh! And she's run across and started helping. And then Timothy's come in to help. Oh, it was just so sweet. And then she was clapping at the end because she was so happy she got to help someone. Oh.
And then when they finished and everyone's like, wow, that was done. And everyone looks. And then Andre just picks up one of his cookies and goes, that's good.
Which in Andre speak is not good enough.
I'm not happy with it. I'm as happy with that as I could be. So, Andre. You're a fucking wizard.
I thought you were Star Baker this week, Andre, until Megan pulled out the fucking Northern Lights.
So they loved the design. The cracks in the waffle were there, and they went, oh, they weren't supposed to crack. But he goes, but it's very... And Rochelle picked it up and went, oh, no, the texture of this waffle's incredible.
So delicate.
And then the texture and the flavour was great. They said the contrast was excellent. The body being a separate cookie, again, was amazing.
Yeah.
Devon, they said it looked like a postcard from Arizona. They said the caramel work was really clean that he did. They said his dough was slightly stodgy in a couple of them, but the black sesame was so good that Bruno wanted the recipe. So you've done well. And look, Devon, hubris, as you saw, didn't really fly. Careful, Icarus. You were very close. I think you were saved by black sesame this week. Meng Ling, as they said, you clearly had fun with this. And then they sort of moved on from her and went, the sugar cookie is really well baked and we love the bees.
Yes. No, not the bees.
And Timothy, they moved on again. They said the biscuits were absolutely delicious and they said those little lemon ones he made inside the bus, go and make those and give them to everyone on your bus.
I thought that was hint for because we're sending you home. And I'm like, oh no.
Sachin, I thought, was in a lot of trouble. They said it was a bit restrained in scale. It was underwhelming. But again, he was saved by flavour. And that seems to be something that happens with Sachin a lot.
Yeah.
Sadia, again, for a showstopper, it was restrained.
Yeah.
Now, this was because, as she said, she couldn't wrap her head around the 3D sculpture.
Yeah.
The cookie was also underbaked. And the flavour was light and good, but underbaked cookie. So that, I think, the sculpture plus the underbaked nature of the biscuit.
And as we've seen, Sadia wasn't strong in Biscuit Week either.
No.
So.
No. Megan, my notes on this literally just say fucking stunning.
Just.
The cookies were crispy. The flavour was absolutely lovely. The colour, the vibrancy, that whole scene.
The mountains. If I had to mountain climb and the other mountains I had to climb, I wouldn't have to climb them. I'd just eat through them.
So Megan was the star baker. And look, I was perfectly fine with that. Yes, Andre's techniques were amazing, but I just thought Megan's thing just smashed it out of the park.
Game, and she came first in the technical, which mattered this week. So.
It did. Well, it did, but it didn't, because Sadia came fourth in the technical.
Yeah.
And Sadia had a really good first bake.
Yeah.
Devon didn't quite have a good technical, had a shit technical, and was okay in the first bake. So Devon really lucky. I think they realised, though, that Sadia didn't really make what they wanted in the showstopper.
Yeah.
And I think that what we found in most series of Bake Off is that if you don't make what they're after in the showstopper, you're probably going home.
Yeah.
Even if you've had 2 other good bakes, you're probably going home. And it was a tight week.
Absolutely,
It was a very tight week. International Week's always a bit of a weird one because, it literally just means we can pluck this from anywhere.
Yeah, it is a bit of a hodgepodge of a put together, but I guess at least they have some guidance around it.
And we absolutely loved the technical.
Yes, the technical.
I thought that was brilliant because it meant
something I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And it needed new, unfamiliar techniques.
It was something that was different, but it wasn't like the issue with last week's showstopper for me was it just felt thrown together for the sake of something different.
Yes.
Whereas this week the technical, it was different, but it was good different because there was technique involved.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was a really well done challenge. Look, overall, it was a good week.
I enjoyed this week. I found it quite interesting. I love seeing, particularly when you start off with something savoury, you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna see a few people come out of the woodwork in terms of their flavour profiles. I mean, no one really did anything extravagant except for Devon with his bibimbap.
Which was amazing.
Yes.
So overall, look, a really good week this week. Next week.
Pastry week. Smile week.
And once again, we featured more Mengling looking confused.
Scared. It's worried.
I have to ask, and we absolutely adore Mengling, but is her natural emotion petrified?
Because she seems so sweet. It's just...
But she seems scared of every challenge. But it's okay because she's still got Penny and she's still got Brain.
She does.
So while the 2 of those are still there, look, if the grand final ends up being Mengling, Andre, and Megan, Mengling might win it simply because Brain and Penny will push it to the front, and Gadget always wins. So that's your lot for this week.
It is indeed.
It is indeed. It's been a wonderful week. It's been a great week. Please feel free to check out on the Twitter. We've got our Teespring.
Yes.
We're selling merchandise.
We do. We have things like cups.
We have mugs, we have tote bags, and we have stickers.
No, just drinking coffee from the pot right now.
No.
Sticking your head onto the coffee machine, letting it drip into your face.
You do not have to link your hands together and drink hot coffee from that for another day more.
Because we've found these revolutionary devices called mugs.
Yep.
Whacked our logo on it.
So if you feel free to if you go to Twitter, it's all over Twitter. Also, if you haven't listened to it yet, we spoke to James from season 1.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
He's hilarious. And his daughter makes a little cameo.
Makes a cameo at the end.
They went for a walk in the Black Forest.
Keep your ears open for that little cameo. It's a wonderful little cameo. Also a chance in the next week or so we might have a few other people popping on. So you're never quite sure who we're going to have.
That would be nice. Now, I'd love to hear what you guys are up to. Like, I got Meg Rose, one of our long-term listeners, who's also a little baker, not from Great Australian Bake Off. She's a baker from down in Victoria. And she sent me updates of her fucking Hogwarts castle. And I am just in awe and jealous and awe because I'm like... Oh, it's magnificent. Meg, put it on Twitter.
Yeah, put it on Twitter so we can reshare it.
Yeah.
We will check all of our social medias again. We're on Facebook. We're on Facebook at The Washing Up.
Yep.
We're on Twitter at The Washing Up. We're on Instagram at Washing Up Pod. You can find us everywhere, wherever you want to be.
We're a bit of a rash.
And a couple of places you probably don't want us to be. So
there's no creams for it, unfortunately.
Also, feel free for next week, if you've got a weird Canadian news story.
Oh, yeah, tell us about it.
Send it to us.
Or
let us know.
We like factoids.
Yeah, so let us know. Any strange Canadian news stories or facts.
Or Australian. Like, what if we, draw on the people who listen and, do a cultural exchange? Things that other people need to know about that just don't get through.
So here's what we need to do.
Our Murdoch press.
So Canadian people, we want to hear about weird news stories from Canada, or we want to hear about just random factoids from Canada. Make them true, please.
Like in Australia, guess what happened this week? Oh, the bloody Prime Minister and the Premier of New South Wales decided it's okay to advertise in the fucking Opera House because their mates who have horses want to project up ads on horse racing there.
Bit weird. And Australian people, feel free to give us information we need to tell our Canadian brethren.
Yes.
We are the conduit. We're just
the
here.
Commonwealth strong.
We're keeping the Commonwealth strong. We're passing on information between the Commonwealth backwards and forwards.
Seawealth strong.
Also, I can't escape the show. Just you may have seen on Twitter, I finished recording the other day. We recorded with James. I came down. I put the NHL on because I'm a bit of an NHL fiend. Was watching a Toronto Maple Leafs game, and the first thing that pops up is an ad for Great Canadian Baking Show.
That's great.
Could not escape the damn
awesome.
thing. It was perfectly timed.
Because you also do a hockey podcast. You should spruik that.
I do several podcasts. So
Yeah.
I do one called The Extra Shift. It's around the Australian NHL fans Facebook page. So feel free to check that out if you want. Also, please check out some really good stuff that we're doing at the moment. Well, I'm doing at the moment.
Because I don't do anything good.
You do, but you need to do more podcasting. I've told you this. But Robert Harwood and myself are doing Food Nerd Vanity Project.
I do quality, not quantity.
You do quality. Food Nerd Vanity Project. It's on iTunes. It's on Twitter. It's everywhere again you want to be. Feel free to check it out. We're talking about David Chang's Ugly Delicious at the moment, and it's good fun.
It just makes me hungry.
It does. So we should probably go eat something.
Yeah.
So until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We will catch you all next week.
This message will self-destruct in 3 seconds.
I'll catch you next time, Gadget.
1.
Next time.